Hi everybody, Chris Titley here and welcome to Scoreboard. This episode is powered by SwiftX, Australia's top-rated crypto exchange and proudly homegrown, just like many of the athletes and business leaders we feature on Scoreboard. Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on today's episode of Scoreboard, the podcast, I'm joined by Bronte Campbell. Bronte, thank you so much for being
Chris,
here.
lovely to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're sitting here on Tuesday the 25th of November 2025, nearing the end of 2025 and also nearing the Black Friday sales. But we'll get to that in a second. But how's your 2025 been, Bronte?
You just, like that date that you just said then, that just reminded me it's a month till Christmas. It's a month today till Christmas.
Yes, correct. Oh my goodness, it is too. There you go.
That is like caused me to have a little shot of adrenaline, I'm not going to lie. Okay, I feel like I'm getting a lot older when I say this, but this year has really flown. Like, I feel like every year everyone says that, but this year in particular, for me, I haven't been in the pool training. I'm not retired, but I haven't been competing this year or doing structured training. And I'm kind of very used to marking the year with Nationals is in March, trials are in June, major meets in July. You get like a 3-week break at the start of August, then you're into short course. Like, I'm used to like it being parceled out like that. And when you don't have those markers, the times just like slid by in like these weird dollops. There's been like periods that have seemed like they've lasted forever, and then suddenly you're 6 months down the track. So it's been a bit of a surreal year from that point of view.
How do you go with not having that competitiveness too, potentially, of like something to put in the diary that it's going to be fierce and it's going to use a lot of emotional energy?
I would say I've channeled that into my business. It's not that there's been nothing going on, and there's definitely my sister's retired this year. There's been quite a few of my swimming colleagues that have retired this year, and that's sort of like what they're battling with a little bit, is like this thing between like freedom and purposelessness. Like, the freedom that you get when you get released from that like very rigid structure is like a relief, and like you enjoy it and run around in it. And then there's a moment where it's like, oh, like now I sort of want to find more purpose again. So there's like a bit of a balancing act. But for me, there's always been that it's been a busy year as well. I have Earthletica, which is a sustainable activewear brand. It's a startup and building sustainable supply chain from the start. It's a whole new and different challenge for me, and we've been capital raising this year, and so it's not that there hasn't been anything competitive to focus on. It's just that it's not like set to a particular date most of the time. Like, the Olympic Games is like, okay, it starts on the 26th of July 2024, and you're getting ready for that date, and everything's gearing towards that. Not everything else in your life is like that, particularly in business. It's a bit more amorphous, and like the plans change a lot more.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the dynamic nature of running a startup. I mean, you're getting pushed and pulled in different directions, and then all of a sudden your feed for your accounting thing's down, or your email's not working, or your website's playing up or something, and you're like, hold on a second, I have to fix this. I'm the one that has to do this. Wasn't in the plan today. How do you find that?
I mean, I personally don't really mind if there's a little bit of unstructured stuff happening, but there's that incredible pressure of like, I've got 2 other co-founders, so I'm very grateful that I've got other co-founders, and we've got a few other team members as well. But I am used to, from an individual sport, being like, the result is all down to you, and you have to make it work, and you have to make it happen. Like, it's your competition. It's actually really nice being in a team and being like, yes, like one of us, like 5 people, has to solve this. But it's been a bit of an adjustment for me, being like, it doesn't have to be you every single time. Like, you're allowed to rely on your team. And also, it's better to rely on your team. Not only you're allowed to, it's better to. If you can't get I might spend, like, at the very beginning of this process, I would spend like hours late at night, like staying up, trying to like do website stuff and change things. And like, I'm just not very good at it. I'm not very efficient at it. And it's like, if I spend that time planning and doing other things, even if I spend the time writing copy for the website and then like give it to my co-founder who's a gun at doing this, and she does it in the morning, it'll be done like way better, to a higher quality and way more efficiently. And so it's been a bit of adjustment for me, being like, you can rely on your team sometimes.
Yeah, I heard the phrase the other day, delegate to elevate. It kind of hit home in regards to like letting go of a few things that you're trying to do and letting go of a little bit of control. And you mentioned you're part of a team, and but you as an individual sport. But there's also a lot of team aspect to swimming. You travel as a team. You are a team. You're in relays, etc. How did you go about sort of the mindset around it? Is obviously it's me, but then there's also other factors as well.
I'd say it's a very unique sport in that way because yes, you are a team, but what normally happens is you have your core everyday daily performance environment team, and that's your coach and your other squad mates. And like as the Australian Olympic team or the Australian Dolphin swim team, we don't train together all the time. You all train in all different environments all across the country. And you actually compete against each other. You compete against each other for 48 weeks of the year. And then you go to Olympic trials or World trials or Commonwealth Games trials, and you compete against each other for spots on the team. If you come first or second, you get selected individually. If you are in a relay event, if you come third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, fifth and sixth are a maybe, but third and fourth, you will be on a relay team as well. And then you've got 4 weeks to go from being competitors and very individuals to being part of this like broader team. And that's quite unique. Like you're still actively competing against each other while you're on the same team. Like there'll be 2 of you in a race together, and like you're still competing against your teammate, but they're also your teammate. So it's a pretty unique environment in that way. And like I'd say my thoughts around this have changed a lot through my career. Like when I very first started in the team, in 2012, I went to my first Olympics in London, and that team had a cultural review afterwards. They came back and said, "Oh, the team environment was labeled as a toxic environment, and people weren't feeling very valued, and all of this stuff." And I was 18, and I was like, I don't understand how that has anything to do with me swimming from this side of the pool to that side of the pool as fast as possible. Like, I don't really care about it. Like, why should I care about that? You know what I mean? Like,
It's a good point. Like I talk to my kids about resilience, and they're like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" You know, they're 12 years old or something. Like, Dad, don't use the big words.
yeah, exactly. And it's like in my mind, I was there to do a job, and it's to swim fast. And like, why did a team environment have an impact on that? And so I spent a few years, like, I don't know, just sitting with that within the back of my mind. I then also joined the leadership group and the athlete leadership group, which is there to look after the culture on the team. And so I was like, well, I have to think about this, like, and go deep on it and understand this properly. Because if I'm going to be talking about it to other people, I need to have a very deep understanding of this and explain to myself and others why it has an impact. Like, if everyone on the team, their goal is to swim as fast as possible, that is what they care about as their number one priority when they're on the team. That's it. And so if I'm also caring about creating a great environment, I need to align it with their goals. I need to let them know why it is going to help them get to their goal and get their buy-in from the start. And I have to explain that to myself before I can explain it to anybody else.
Yeah, it's a very hard thing to explain. I mean, you do have different goals and PBs and whatever, and swimming fast. But then, if you have, I suppose, an underlying mission or values, I suppose that you can connect those two, I think that's something of power. I'm curious to know about you and your career in the pool, and then now with Athletica. That is there values, is it underlying principles that guide you every day?
Yeah, I mean, of course. And values are great, but I was like a step before that where I was like, I need people to care about the values. Like standing up in front of it, like we already had a group of values. And it's like you stand up, you say the values, everyone knows what they are. That's great. Like, great. But why should I care about that? Is like the piece that we have to make very crystal clear at the start for the team. And I'd say that for the team in particular, it's a lot more difficult because you're all in your own individual environments, and then you come together and you don't come together for very long, and you've got a very short amount of time to make this work. So you need to not only know what the values are, you need to know why it aligns with your goals to care about it. Like that was sort of the first piece that had to happen before you could even start designing values and basing them and then putting behaviors under them and all of that, because the buy-in was the most important thing at the start. And I did that through working with people who are smarter than me, who have done a lot of this stuff before. And showing from like a physiological perspective what being in a team and being in a great team environment, what that does to your endocrine profile, what that does to your stress levels, and then how that affects your body over time and how that will affect your body's output. So like when I was in the team, it was a very easy, like that's quite an easy line to draw. It's like, okay, cool. We know that like these levels of stress and these hormones affect your body negatively over time. We know that if you feel like you're part of a team, these things will be reduced. And this is why this team should care about it, because they want to swim fast. They all want to swim fast. Yes, they've got other secondary goals, but like these people that I'm talking about are what people that do 19,000 swim strokes a week, and they've been doing that for years, going up and down a black line to swim fast. Like they're quite, they might have some other nice things that they want to get out of the sport. They might also want to make friends. They might also want to be in a great team environment, but they're so secondary to that primary focus that I knew that if I was to talk about team values, if I couldn't align it with the thing they care about the most, they just weren't going to care about it that much.
And getting them together, almost like feeling like that you're reverse engineering the words in the values by their actions before you say the words, right? So they're on board with the words once they know what the words are, right?
Well, I mean, we just co-designed it with them. So the first thing was like, why is this important to you? Why should you care about it? And going through the science of that in a lot more depth than I just did then. But going through that first, being like, okay, this is why this is important. Because if you want to achieve your goals, our collective goal is part of that. Like this team can actually, it can be an accelerator. It can, if you buy into this, you might get where you're going. Firstly, it'd be more pleasant, but you might get further than you thought you could go before. So that was sort of like the first step. And then it was like co-design the values with the team. We had a few suggestions, obviously, but taking the time to make sure that they had ownership of that. And then putting like behaviors underneath that value, like saying like one of your values is courage. Like that's a great value, but what does that look like? Saying it's that one of your values is unity, that's great, but what does that look like? Saying one of your values is excellence, what does that look like? And then it can be enforced, like very easily, like under excellence, it was like always like doing your professional warm down, like very easy. Unity was like making sure you say hello to everybody and like clap them on the shoulder and say, I got your back, like before they go out and race and when they come back. And those are like very easily enforceable things that feed up into those values. And courage was going out and competing to the best of your ability and like facing that like really big unknown. And it's great. Everyone can get on board with that because they know exactly what is expected of them, but they also help design it. They're also part of what was expected of them.
And then when it comes to goals, I'm curious in your career and now, in terms of like career back in the pool, then now, what were medals or milestones ever in the mix in terms of goals, or was it always about getting the best out of yourself and seeing what happens?
Yeah, I'm not the person that will sit and visualize a gold medal around my neck. I'm not really that like specifically outcome driven, especially that sort of outcome. There's obviously like things that you want to achieve along your career, but they're kind of secondary goals for me. Like I was quite process driven in my goals. And I would know quite well what I was capable of from like a time perspective. What's so great about swimming, which is very different from business, is that you're playing in a very controlled environment. You're playing in a container where you know all the rules and they're preset, and there's an objective measure of success. There's a stopwatch and it starts when you dive in and it stops when you hit the wall. Like, you can measure how good you are. Like I can measure it every day if I want to, which I do in training every day, and I can measure it when I race. So you can have these really objective measures, but that doesn't really exist in the rest of the world as much. And what success looks like can be a little bit more ambiguous when you step outside of that very rigid sort of playing lines. But how I've sort of brought that into business is being able to make things a little bit less uncertain and focus on that process a little bit more and figure out like what the parameters I should be aiming for are, because that's that's the sort of hard thing. And in swimming, I've very much mastered this. I would know like how many strokes I needed to do each lap. I would know how many breaths I needed to do each lap. I know how many kicks I needed to do underwater. I know what pace I needed to be doing every single time. I know the stroke rate I needed to be doing. I would know like the feeling of the first 3 strokes. I'd know how many bubbles I need to blow at this stage. Like I can't tell you the level of granular detail that I knew about my swimming. And you're perfecting these tiny things, which is very different from what I'm doing now. So bringing aspects of like that, those process driven goals is really useful. But the second thing is also broadening my goals. Like when I was a lot younger, I used to be like, okay, cool. I kind of have an idea what I could do in this race. Like in the back of my head, I'd be like, I've got a time that I think I can do. I wouldn't make that the goal. The goal was always to have like the first 3 strokes be, I don't know, at a relaxed pace. Like that was really the goal of that race. And then the result would sort of look after itself. So, but I always had in the back of my head like something that I thought was possible for myself. And it was kind of quiet for me and not spoken out loud. And I really liked that because it gave me something to like aim for.
I'm
When I
curious
got
when
injured
sorry, you
and
keep
like,
going.
when I got injured and I had this nerve injury on my left side and I couldn't do all of the things that I used to be able to do. And so that really had to change like the way I was thinking about even those quiet goals that I had for myself because I didn't know how to get there anymore. I couldn't even focus on the process because I didn't know what it was anymore. Like all the things that I used to be able to do, I couldn't do anymore. And so I couldn't have a process driven goal because the process, I wasn't sure what it should be. And so I had to change the way I was goal setting and like just make it bigger. And the way I made it bigger so I could allow myself to still be succeeding even when I wasn't doing the things I used to be able to do was to say, okay, my new goal is I'm the person that doesn't let injury defeat me. And what that looked like on a day-to-day basis was very different to what my training had looked like before. And I would try things and I would fail at them and I'd have to try another thing and fail at that. But even while I was failing, it allowed me to feel like I was working towards a goal rather than feeling like I was failing every day because I wasn't swimming 53.0 seconds.
That's so powerful in the sense that you've changed the mindset and thinking around the day-to-day goal. And chatting to a few AFL players or whatever, and they've done ACLs, and the goal that year was to do really well on the field, but they can't, right? So then
Yeah.
changing is like, okay, what's my goal today? My goal today is to do 12 exercises or whatever, and then maybe 13 the next day, and then it's sort of like, oh, now gamification, game on, right? So and rephrasing that all. I'm curious to know now though, in business, as you mentioned, compared to the pool where there's pretty lots of data and kind of structured processes, what's the goal now?
I mean, the goal for me personally is to relentlessly chase the things I'm passionate about. And that has been a goal of mine for the last few years. I'd say it's more like a vision than a particular goal. I expressed that through swimming when I went to Paris. Like that was a relentless pursuit of swimming, and I am passionate about swimming, and it was a way that I could express that. Now in my business, I'm like, I am so passionate about getting plastic out of activewear. Like activewear needs stretch and compression. You need to be held and supported. Yes. But how do we do this better for the environment and better for you? At the moment, we use recycled, but like, what's the next thing? And what's the next thing? And what's the next thing? Like, when we became the first company in the world to use a bio waterproof membrane without any PFAS, when we became the first company in the world to use a tapeless zipper, like all of these things may seem quite small, but I'm very passionate about it. And we're chasing the rest of those world first to see that, like, the thing I'm very passionate about in sustainability and my business is that I don't think there is a fair choice to get people to make between a sustainable product and a quality product. Like you can't make something that's sustainable but inferior because it just, as a consumer, it's too difficult to choose that. Like I need to make something that is the best activewear anyone has ever put on their body. And by the way, it's more sustainable. It uses less plastic. And the absolute gold standard is there is none in there. At the moment, that's the big problem we're trying to solve. Like, how do you get stretch and compression in fabric without using elastane? That's very difficult. That's very difficult. But I'm relentlessly passionate about chasing that problem. And like there's a solve out there. We're like, get to talk to all these incredible people who are so smart, and they've been looking at this problem for years. And we're getting to a point where like this technology is becoming available and we're going to be the first in the world to use it. So this is just another way to express that for me in business, which it's the same sort of things I was doing in swimming, just in a different environment.
It sounds like you love like big challenges, and once you're on board with that challenge, the desire, motivation, enthusiasm comes with it. Is that do I sum you up a little bit like that?
Yes, definitely. I would say yes in the big picture, no in the small picture. Like little M motivation, the motivation to get out of bed every morning at 4:30 and go to training. Like it's not like I woke up feeling motivated. Like motivation is an action, not a feeling for me. There's like the big M motivation, which is like I'm living up to that higher goal and higher set of values for myself and feel like I'm aligned with them. That's definitely part of it. But the little M motivation, there has to be structure and discipline to make that happen. It's not like I personally need to be accountable. Like I know that for myself. I actually, funny, used ACL as a example the other day. I just did my ACL like 4 weeks ago today.
Right, I didn't know that, by the way. So
Yeah.
that's freaky that we're talking about it. But anyway, yes, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, thank you. I did my ACL, and I'm very aware that if I try to sit in front of my TV and do my boring exercises of an afternoon or an evening, I won't do them. Like, I just know myself too well. I have to create a structure and an environment that's going to work for that. It's not about like being motivated to do it. It's creating a structure that will support you no matter what. So it's like, okay, great. Like, at the very start, when I couldn't really move very much, I couldn't really get down the stairs. I have to go down a lot of stairs. I was like, okay, I'm going to call this person. Like I had 4 people for half an hour, and I will be doing my exercises while I talk to them. That's what I have to do. And I'd be like, I'm calling you at 5 p.m. or 5:30 or whatever. And like that was something that made me accountable to doing my exercise every day. Now I go to Iceberg's gym, and like it's the most beautiful spot in the world. And I go there and I do my exercises, and I do over an hour of them, because if I was to do them at home, I'd probably do like 10 minutes. I'd be like, this is so boring. But I created a space, an environment, and a structure that sort of works for me around that. And yeah, it doesn't just come from like I don't even feel like going to Icebergs every day, but like the fact that I've got it like in my diary and I'm committed to it, like once I've got that, I can do the rest of it. I don't have to feel motivated.
You just brought up a point around like the chatting to the person versus the watching TV or doing it at home. All those early mornings and afternoons when you were swimming laps, it's just you and your brain. What was going through your brain sometimes when you're just going up and down, up and down? Are you drifting, or are you thinking about something to keep you getting through the actual practice session?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that like it's not just me by myself. So that's amazingly helpful. And you don't just go up and down with no like stops. Like I probably wouldn't go. It's very rare that I would go more than 800 meters at a time without like stopping and changing. There's like a point to everything that you're doing. But you definitely can drift. Like there's times when you can like get in a nice meditative state, and like maybe if you're cooling down, or you're I don't know, just cruising through that first 400 meters. But for me, the pool is the time to focus as much as possible, and then like as I leave that, I can turn off not everything, because sport is sort of a lifestyle as opposed to a job. You don't get to turn off completely, but I would be as focused as possible in that pool. I mean, I count my strokes every single lap that I ever do. It's like a metronome in the back of my head, because it's an extra piece of information that I can keep giving myself. It's like another way to measure how successful I'm being in that session. So yeah, there's always some sort of point that you're trying to prove, but like I'm not going to tell you that I was like 100% focused 100% of the time for 2.5 hours of practice, because that's not really possible.
No, I don't think that's possible in business either. But there's these glimpses of, I suppose, of be at your best when your best is needed, or like switch on, switch off, etc. during the day, or go get a coffee or whatever it might be. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm also curious around the transition from when the pool to where you are now, and it's a generic question, but I want to touch it a little bit deeper in terms of your relationship with swimming. It sounds like you still a very positive, I think you mentioned earlier, a positive relationship with the pool and swimming. Has that ever changed? Has it veered? And your perspective on the pool now moving forward to the next phase of your life?
It's definitely changed over my life. I would say it's definitely positive. I swam this morning, but I swam 400 meters. I,
Well, you've
I
done your
didn't, I didn't,
ACL. You shouldn't be in the pool, should you?
yeah, I mean, like, I didn't swim. Normally I'd be doing 4.5K. So like, I've really cut down on what I'm doing. And
You've
for
been
anyone that
brutally
does swim,
injured.
400 meters is so small. Like, that's like tiny, you know?
But you've like almost career-ending injury, so give yourself a break. 400's good, yeah.
No, it is good. I enjoy doing it. Like I'm doing it for joy and because I love being in the water. Like I'm in the water almost every single day anyway. Like I still do have a love for it and a passion for it, which is why I haven't completely closed the door on that next chapter of if I wanted to go to LA. I do have to make that decision within the next sort of 6 months. And I really do have to see how this ACL holds up because you don't, your ACL is not as important for swimming as it is for AFL, but it probably is. It's going to be important that it's recovered.
Yeah.
And do I want to manage another injury on top of all my others? Is a good question for me.
Yes, yeah, and a business and lots of decisions to be made. I'm also curious
Yes.
around, like I've got kids and we do swim club on a Friday night. Do you go back to where kids are now and swimming and pools, etc., and feel like a deep connection of where you used to be and what you've gone through in terms of maybe some advice that you can offer?
Yeah, I do some clinics from time to time and go past the pool, particularly on Friday night club night. Like I really remember big memories from that. And I love doing the clinics and being around that young energy. There's so much hope and vibrancy and excitement about everything and trying to get a PB and like just it's wonderful. It really does take me back to that sort of excitement that I had in the sport, which is very different from what I feel about it now. Like I would say my emotional roller coaster within the sport, it's just sort of evens out. Like at the very start, I like really had the highs and then I really felt the lows. And then by the time I was here at my fourth Olympics last year, like that band just shrunk and it was like the highs and lows were there but they were within a smaller band, like a bit more contained. I just like even I mean I know from psychology you even out in your personality and your highs and lows as you get older anyway, but I think just that repeated exposure as well. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy it, I just don't enjoy it with that like whole body experience that you know how kids are like they really enjoy things with their entire being at the moment that they're in it, and it's cool to be around. And advice, I don't love giving advice to people because I think everybody's got a different way of moving through the world, and what works for me doesn't work for other people. But I would say the one key thing that I see in successful people across all different sports and business is that they are truly passionate about what they're doing and they find a way to find their passion and their values in even the things that they don't like. For instance, my injury, I do not like being injured. But and I also in the past haven't loved like structure and plan. Like I'm a little bit freer than that. And injury does not allow you to do that. You have to have structure and plan. But I had to find a way to love it within within the parameters that I was in. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do if I have to do all this rehab stuff, I'm gonna make sure that it's different every 2 weeks and like still get some creativity and variety and all this extra stuff in there and find a way to still find myself within the parameter that I'm in and like still feel passionate about it. So I still do feel passionate about it because it's now creative. Like it's a problem solving thing for me, trying to fix my injuries. It's actually kind of fun.
Yeah, and I heard a podcast the other day with the All Blacks mentor coach Gilbert Enoch, and he said to shrink the moment. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like you're thinking about this thing, but if you bring it back to this next little phase, and maybe in your head gamify it or goal set around it, and if you win the moment, then you win another moment, and win another moment. He's like, that's what's called momentum. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. So just shrinking the moment is a problem-solving exercise, as you mentioned, though, because the brain's like kind of go, oh, but and it's pulling you in different directions. So thank you for sharing that, by the way. I'm curious to know, like identity, which people talk about sport, etc. When people say Bronte Campbell, oh, the swimmer, but also like having other athletes, and we were introduced by Athletic Ventures, who are getting a lot of athletes together to talk about investments and particular investments, etc. But the connection with your teammates and sports and people outside of swimming. How have you gone with Bronte Campbell, the swimmer, versus Bronte Campbell, who you are?
It is a really hard thing to do because I've been chasing swimming for a very long time, and I started on this dream and this path when I was 7. So I was very little, and I would define myself as a swimmer. But knowing that you're sort of not just one thing is something that's sort of come with age and maturity, and finding other aspects of my life that I can be balanced in. Also having a bigger goal that doesn't just rely on swimming, being like, I'm the kind of person that relentlessly chases the things I'm passionate about, allows me to like think about myself, and like that's a very identity driven goal, and it allows me to express it in multiple different ways and still feel like myself. But there's sort of an extra layer for me where I'm often defined by my sister as well. My older sister is also an Olympic swimmer. We swim the same events. We would compete against each other or in the same races together all the time. So I was not only defined by my sport, I was also defined by my sister a lot. I actually don't think I've ever, as a younger one, I've never been on an international stage without having like her as part of the conversation. That's just never been a thing for me. So I sort of learned a little bit early on to not really compare myself or not attach my identity to one thing. Probably because of that, like because Kate was a individual Olympic bronze medalist when she was 16 years old. I think because of that, I needed to find other ways to differentiate myself from her. Like she was known as the swimmer before I was. And so I had to find other parts that I could look at. And most of my friends are out. I mean, I've got great friends in the sport that have come from the sport, but my day-to-day friends are not in the sport. My partner is not from swimming. I never actually dated anybody in the swimming world. A lot of people do. That's a whole other discussion. But for me, I needed to get away from it. Say again.
Is that a theme for a new podcast?
I mean, if you could go behind the scenes of sport,
the pool.
Yeah. I mean, it totally makes sense. Lots of people meet their partners at work, but it's very intense. Like sport's quite intense, and I didn't want another person who was also in that intense environment. I needed someone who had a totally different perspective from me.
Yeah, no, for sure. When it comes to like being still, or maybe like your injury you mentioned, in terms of not being able, and you're shrinking the moment, are you good with switching off, or are you a switcher offer? Do you kind of like, I just want to read a book or listen to a podcast or watch a movie or something and not think about anything? Or is it always kind of embedded that you've got your business and you've got your swimming and all this sort of stuff, and you're like, that's all just part of the price of entry?
Yeah, I would say that I do schedule recovery in, and I'm probably, to be honest, I'm better at doing this for sport than I am at business. Because there's always something else you can be doing when you're running your own business. Whereas in swimming, like I very much knew like this is a time to perform, and like this part of the day is a recovery part of the day. And then you're going to be performing again in the evening, and then you need to have another recovery part in order to continue performing. Like it's very clear in sport that you need recovery because you're pushing your body to the limit. And like, if you can't recover quickly, then you can't go back to the limit. I would say this year has been a big year to learn that within business. Very big year. And I sort of probably haven't done it very well. The first thing I did was like, okay, I'm going to like schedule times to have like downtime. But in the back of my head, I'm berating myself for having downtime and like being like, you should be doing this, you should be doing this. And that's not relaxing. So
yeah, so it's this endless sort of flywheel potentially of like, oh, downtime's coming. No, I'm too busy sort of thing. You're like,
yes,
in the schedule, like, you should do it. Oh, I should do it. Of course I should do it, but you don't. And then you sit.
Well, then while you're doing it, you're not enjoying it.
And you're like, oh, just got to wait till 12 o'clock to send that email. It's my downtime.
Yes. So the scheduling of it, which worked for swimming very well, did not work for me in business very well. So there's some things that just don't cross over.
I put drink water in my calendar every day now, and then I'm like, oh no, I've just better respond to this email. I can wait. And I'm like, the whole point is to put drink water in my email so I can drink more water, so I feel better, so I'm more dehydrated, so my brain's better. And I'm like, anyway. Drink less
Yes,
coffee,
it's
maybe.
it's all the little things that they really do add up. It's just it's hard to schedule them in. It has to be part of like an overall pattern, but finding that pattern and that rhythm is quite difficult.
Yeah, it sure is, sure is, and it is endless and it's relentless, and as particularly as running your own business. Now, we do ask our guests a few common questions, and the answers are varied, and it's lovely that they're varied. I'm going to start by the first question, which is to do with sport. It's to do with your all-time favourite sporting moment, and I do preface this to say that it's not you're not in that moment, but it's something that you can watch, 1,000 times over.
I would say the penalty shootout for the
Oh,
Matildas
in
against
Brisbane, against
France.
France. Oh,
Again, the quarterfinal, like that moment, I could watch that penalty shootout over and over again. Like, I mean, probably not the whole match because that's long, but that penalty shootout, which is also long, it was like 20 minutes long. I so clearly remember where I was when that was happening. I was at my sister-in-law's hens and we were running with a drag queen through the street, but stopping like we're trying to get to like a bar so we could get in and watch it. But like we couldn't get in anywhere. So we were like stopping every like 10 meters to like stop and watch the next shot and then be like, okay, quick, we can go again. And not only does it have a great memory attached to it, like the moment when the ball finally goes in and it's like that's it, we've won. And I don't know, it's just like every single moment was just so tense, and yeah, it's spectacular.
it's got to be one of the great all-time Australian moments. Like it's been recalled a few times on the pod, and it gives me goosebumps even talking about it. And people ask, "Where were you that night?" And I've got a whole story, not as exquisite as running down with chasing jag queens trying to find a bar, but with neighbours and friends and family together, and it was just I've still got that moment on video, and you watch back and you're like, oh, goosebumps. Now, speaking of goosebumps, or maybe not goosebumps, so I also ask our guests about their scoreboard moment. And their moment is this is a moment in your life that's very clear and very vivid, just like that moment. But from that moment, life changed.
Yes, this one's very easy for me. It's actually my favorite ever race that I've ever done. And it was the 50 meters at Olympic trials in 2012. And as I explained before, if you are at Olympic trials and you finish first and second, you get to be on the team in the 50 freestyle. And so I had to finish first or second in this. And before that, I wasn't an Olympian. And when I touched the ball second, I was an Olympian. And that is a moment. Like that's the happiest I've ever been after any of my races. Like it was the dream that I'd had since I was 7 years old. And I touched that wall. My older sister Kate came first and I came second. And that was it. And we're going to the Olympics together. Like what an exquisite moment. It's I love looking back on the video of that. It's actually so sweet. You can just see how I've never been that happy after a race ever. Like doesn't matter if I've won or I've been lucky to be in teams that have broken world records or won Olympic gold medals. Like not one of them compares to that. That was the best.
It's amazing, like touching that wall and like then going from from non-Olympian to Olympian, and that big gap in your brain and the achievement of goal. It sort of takes you back a little bit to university or school or something where you prepare really, really hard for an exam, and then you just get this mark, just gets emailed or sent to you, and you're like, oh, hey, cool. Oh, I'm happy. Like it's just this fraction of moment. Like whole life is you're preparing for something, and then the actual moment itself is just literally a second, right? But I suppose it's the enormous, it's preparation of the goal. I'm waffling here, so I'm going to keep going, but I can talk about that. But we do have some sponsors at Scoreboard, and we're very thankful for our sponsors to keep us telling stories from the game of sport. And our major sponsor is SwiftX, which is Australia's most trusted cryptocurrency platform. It has over 1.2 million users in Australia and New Zealand. And they've got a new campaign called Where Can Crypto Take You? And as part of that sponsorship, we do a little segment called the Bucket List. And the Bucket List is a sporting event that you haven't attended live thus far, Bronte, that you would love to attend in person as a spectator.
There are so many, but maybe it's just front of mind at the moment. I need to go to the Winter Olympics. Like, they're in Milano,
2 months.
Cortino the next year in February. I don't know if I'll be able to get to them. Actually, I'm just going to say right now, I'm not going to be able to get to them. Next year is too hectic for me, but I need to go to a Winter Olympics in person. Like this is, it's not a bucket list item because I feel like a bucket list is something you like have and you maybe never do until you think that your life is going to end. Like this needs to happen.
Yes, absolutely. And one of our previous interviews, Bree Walker, is going for it, and hopefully we're competing in that. And practicing now and cheering her on. But yes, what an event that would be. It'd be so unique in regards to just like, I mean, growing up in Australia, you don't see skiing everywhere all the time, but then having all the diverse events would be absolutely amazing. Now, Bronte, we also have another partner in Pocketsmith. Pocketsmith is the personal finance app for the household CFO, the one keeping the budget in check, paying the bills, and kicking goals. Over 80,000 Aussies use Pocketsmith to track their spending, see their net worth, and plan ahead. Bronte Campbell, I am curious, are you the CFO? Do you budget?
I mean, definitely for my business, I do. For personally, it's been very difficult. My mentor, Christine McLaughlin, who started mentoring me about 3 years ago, she was like the first thing she made me do was budget, because I wasn't doing it in my everyday life. Because in swimming, like your income is so, it's not like you're on a contract or a pay slip. Like I've never had like a reliable, steady income. And there was sort of almost 2 years there where I was working at EY and I was pulling in like a pay slip, and that was like it was like once a month, and I could like very easily budget around that. Swimming's not like that. Like you might get paid twice a year, and you don't know what those amounts are going to be until after you've competed. So it's it's just a very, I always found it very hard to budget. But Christine was like, you at least need to track your expenses, like so that you can like really, even though the amounts coming in are hard to budget for, you've got like a baseline that you can work from. So she forced me to budget, which is it's very useful.
There you go. And you can check out Pocketsmith if you want, and so desire. I use it. It helps me track my coffees and things like that, and tells me sometimes that I spend too much on things I shouldn't spend, which is okay. It's good. You've got to actually face a little bit and be a little bit uncomfortable.
I think that's the thing with budgeting. You're like, I don't want to know that my $5 coffee has like added up to X amount this month.
Yeah, or a year. The year's the worst, right? Like $8,000 on coffee. $8,000? No way.
But it is good to see. You're right. It's just useful information. And then you can choose to act on it or not act on it. If you don't know it, you can't make a choice. So it is useful, but I totally get the mental block around like, I don't want to know, but you do want to know.
Yeah, I know. And I think you got to shrink the moment. You got to shrink to a day. Like, oh, $5 a day. That's all right. That's okay. But not the annual. Now, one final question. You said you don't give advice. So I'm going to rephrase this in and around maybe a daily habit or something which you live by, a mantra which you can share with other people around high performance, and then also running your business. And then I want to give your business a bit of a plug. So plug your business. And we've got Black Friday, we've got Christmas, we've got all these things coming up, people giving gifts and whatnot. But we'll start with maybe a performance habit.
Okay, performance habits. I mean, I would say know yourself and know what works for you. Like that's really the number one. No matter what I say, you have to adjust it for you. But for me, I know that I need people and I need accountability. Like that's it. I can't do it by myself. And whatever that needs to look like to get the thing done, that's what I need to pull in. Like knowing that about myself is key to me performing. It helps me perform in my business, helps me perform in the pool astronomically. And then because I get to tell you about Earthletica. So Earthletica, why on earth would I go from something hectic in sport to a startup business? And it really was that I saw that no one else was doing this. Like people were doing maybe one item of clothing with a bit of recycled in it, and that's it. And that's not going to shift the needle. It's not going to shift the needle in terms of the environmental impact, but it's also not going to change anything in terms of these fabrics that we're putting really close to our bodies. Like we have to do better. We have to not add any chemicals. So we don't add any chemicals to our products. Every single product is made using recycled materials, but it's still got the stretch and compression that I can go for a run and do a hardcore workout. There's other brands that are doing a brilliant job of trying to use wool or hemp or bamboo. But for me, when I tried those, I couldn't do a hardcore workout. Like I can't sweat in those things. They kept falling down and I couldn't go for a run and all the things. So I need to be able to do the things that I need to do, but have a better impact on the environment and a better impact on my body because I'm wearing healthier clothing. Then, or you just keep building from there and keep getting that cutting edge. So We're available online. Go check out the styles. It's like, honestly, it's the best activewear I've ever worn in my life. Like, I wore this in my entire Olympic prep last year. So it can do the hard yards, but knowing that it's also better for the environment and better for myself is the starting point. It's a very personal thing, but like, my actual vision is like, nobody ever has to make the choice between like wearing plastic on their body and wearing a quality garment. Like, they can have plastic-free high-performance activewear. That is it. You never have to choose that. I love it.
What a way to finish. The enthusiasm's coming through, the passion, the confidence around the product. I love it. Earthletica, check them out. Obviously, lots of big time of the year for shopping and gifting, etc. as well. Bronte Campbell, thank you so much for being on Scoreboard and sharing some insights into your life and your story, the ups and downs and everything in between. Really do appreciate it. Looking forward to following your progress and helping Earthletica and helping yourself where I can. And looking forward to catching up.
Chris, thanks so much for having me.